right, welcome everyone to this episode of Notes with Jack. My name is Alan Fox, and I am here today with the director
Oh, God.
and the adapter of the 1973 Dallas Opera production of, wait for it, Le COQ D'OR?
Le COQ D'OR.
Le COQ D'OR. Oh, I wasn't that far off.
The Golden Rooster. That's what it is.
But wait, what was that your first play on? What was your first play on Broadway? We've talked about this before.
Well, my first play on Broadway was Cock-a-Doodle Dandy. Oh, another rooster.
There's a lot of birds, huh?
A lot of cock. Right. Yeah.
Anyways, so we're here with Jack O'Brien. Let's get into this, man, because I'm fascinated by this side of your life.
Okay.
So look, because I didn't want to ask you about it before. I want to try to pronounce it live.
Rimsky-Korsakov wrote it.
Yeah.
It's a Russian opera, a comic opera, very seldom done.
It's the first opera you did? It's the first one I saw on your little timeline that I have, so maybe
no,
not.
I think the adaptation of Orphée aux Enfers, Orpheus in the Underworld,
right,
which I did for the Kansas City Opera, which was the sister opera of Dallas, and back in the 70s, that was Larry Kelly and Nicola Ricchino, who was Collis's favorite conductor.
Huh.
They had a sort of partnership, and they ran these two Midwestern opera companies.
Yeah.
And they fell in love with Ellis, my mentor, Ellis Rapp.
Yeah.
And so they developed him as a director. He did, I think the first thing he did was Purcell's When I am late, and but anyway, one act for them. He was supposed to do it with the choreographer, the Spanish choreographer, Jose Limon. Limon got sick. His assistant took over. I took over for Ellis, and that was the first thing I did in the opera world. But at that point, they were going to do a full English version of Offenbach's Orpheus in the Underworld, which is a comic opera, from which comes the can-can.
Yeah. Oh, really? That's originally in that opera?
Yeah, that's the hit tune. Huh. And Joan Houseman, my beloved Joan Houseman, John's late wife, who was French, helped me. And I did a literal translation, and then I adapted it all into English.
So you knew French, just to lay it out for everyone. It was originally in French. You knew French, and then Joan, how did you guys do that? Because I always find that amazing how well you speak French. And
this is a full disclosure. I'm a fucking fake. I mean, you know this about me.
Well, I wouldn't call you a full fake, actually.
Well, here's the deal. When I was in college, my best friend, who painted that picture behind me on the wall.
Yeah. The one I thought was Elton John, like the first 4 times I came to your...
And it's me at the piano. And me at the piano. He was a fraternity brother of mine. He majored in French. He was very instrumental, and we did not have an affair, but he helped me come to grips with the fact that I'm so gay it's impossible not to see I'm dressed in pink. But anyway, he spoke French, and he was dating a girl who was Belgian, Ingrid Hendricks. And they used to sit in the University of Michigan Union, smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, and parler tout à fait en français. And because I have a really good ear, I'm a very musical guy, I could keep up.
Huh.
And I took French in high school. I took 1 semester at the University of Michigan and comped out.
Yeah.
And because of John and Joan and hanging out with the Housemans, where French was the other language they spoke at the table, they spoke French with me at the table, and I sort of limped along. And I still have vestiges of it now. It's really interesting because if I'm in Paris, for instance, it takes me about 4 hours to turn over
Yeah.
And then I stop thinking and I just speak, and then I'm okay. I don't have a very big vocabulary, but I'm told I don't speak American French. I speak Belgian French.
Huh.
I speak like c'est un accent pas un terme américain. C'est plus que quelqu'un qu'on veut.
Sure.
Oh, shut up, Jack.
That's good enough. No, it sounds great. So you limped along as a French fraud for 10 years.
Yeah.
And so you're directing theater, and then this opportunity for the opera comes. Why just as we get into it, why, like, talk to me about directing theater versus the opera. Like, how did that
Well, I didn't
crossover
direct
work?
the opera. Ellis directed the opera. I did the translation and adaptation. I translated all the French into English and made jokes.
What about the, okay, but what about the Golden Rooster or whatever? The next one, did you direct that?
No. That was
Okay.
that was the Panamanian crazy guy, Divine.
So you just adapted the opera.
I just did the adaptation. I was just there as the translator.
Amazing. Okay. Did you like? I mean, but you talked, because we talked about the opera before. You liked the opera.
I love the opera.
Yeah.
I mean, don't forget, I had 10 years. The first 10 years of my life professionally, from let's say 1969, 1979, were more opera than anything else, because it's Porgy and Bess.
Right. Well, so you directed Porgy and Bess. Obviously.
I did direct Porgy and Bess, and for which it got the Tony.
Right.
I was nominated for my first Tony for that.
Right.
I didn't win, but it was amazing. I learned a lot about life and world and Black culture and me doing it. But anyway, as a result, I was on the short list of American directors who do opera. And so New York City Opera hired me, San Francisco Opera hired. I did Tosca there. I did 2 operas in San Francisco. I did The Magic Flute. I did Abduction from the Seraglio, Mozart. I did Così fan tutte and that toured in Houston. I did an Aida in Houston.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I
So
did a lot of opera.
Right, exactly. So you did start directing opera at some point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But what I've always found interesting when you talk to me about this, and what I'm kind of angling at here, is how you talk about how that helped you with the bigger musicals, because you understood this. And I just wanted to get into that a little bit about how, because one thing about you that always fascinates me, that I love digging into, is how nothing was wasted. Everything, it's like you did in your life, like coming up, you did so many different things, right? Whether it's learning French because of this guy, whether it's, being a writer, being an actor, it all funneled into what became your diverse, illustrious career as a director. And so kind of what I'm angling at is, like, how did opera feed into directing these bigger musicals? Because I think sometimes, and I'm just saying this for myself, I've gone off on, I've veered off to the left or the right of where I thought I was going, and I've been angry and regretful, only later to realize, oh, it's been fed back into the stream at a certain point,
Boy, 2 bad adjectives: angry and resentful.
I'm trying to drop them.
Get rid of those.
I know,
God,
I'm trying.
No
I'm
good,
trying, man.
Okay. Well, here's the deal. Again, everything is. My friend Alan tells me everything's in a cycle. So I'm now trying to learn.
It's a circle. Time is a circle.
I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I started out under the influence of 2 men at the time who loved the big gesture, Ellis Rabb and Bill Ball. Right. They came from Carnegie Mellon, Carnegie Tech at the time, and they inherited a European sensitivity, big shows, big emotions. Shakespeare, for one thing, that's a big arena. That's a lot of that. There are wars in Shakespeare. You have to put them on the stage.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was watching 2 people, mostly Ellis more than Bill, but 2 people who had an appetite for what I call the big gesture. Now that's not popular now. We're not doing that now. I'm going into town next week because my beloved Ella Beatty, who was in Ghosts, is acting with Hugh Jackman in a 2-hander, something to do with sexuality of men in the workplace. I don't know. It's two-hander at the Minetta Lane, a tiny little theater.
Yeah.
And there are these
It's
two.
right by me.
Yeah, that's right. Is that where you are now?
Yeah.
In the Village.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Anyway, I always wanted to live in the Village. I never lived in the
Well,
Village.
man, I got this
Are
upstairs.
you there now?
Yeah, I'm subletting. I'm subletting the guy from the opera. I'm subletting his
Oh,
apartment
that
for
guy.
2
Yeah,
months.
right.
Yeah, Benjamin Bliss. And I don't know, man. I got a couch downstairs. If you wanna LARP as staying in the Village, you're welcome to.
Don't tempt me.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway,
Big gestures.
So yeah, I mean, one of the first things Ellis did when he got his little theater in the East 74th Street Theater, he tied together with Theater at Hambledon and the Phoenix and that whole alliance. They had an adaptation of Edwin Piscator's of War and Peace that they put on the stage. And Ellis, one of the things you had to do was to stage the Battle of Borodino, which Ellis did with toys and a ribbon of fabric that was a river and little cannons. It was so wonderful. I can't tell you.
Wow. Yeah.
But it was like playing with a children's toy set. But he did the Battle of Borodino that way and explained it, how it happened.
Wow.
And so my mind was like, oh, you can do anything, you know?
Yeah.
So right away, because I was thrust almost inadvertently into the opera world, which is also big music and lots of people. Porgy and Bess, which started my career, has more choral episodes, more for the chorus to do than almost any opera in the world. It's all about it's about the chorus. It's about the community, frankly. Not Porgy and Bess. It's about the people watching.
Yeah.
And so I was not afraid of space. I was not afraid of using a lot of people on stage. I think there are a lot of directors that are terrified of that, and of course they would be if they don't have an opportunity to do it. But if you get to do it regularly, it's sort of that's what I do. You know.
Why do you think cost is the reason we moved away from grand shows like that, or you think it's something else?
That's an interesting question. I don't know how to quite answer that because some of it has to do with passion and theme, subject matter that requires a big scope.
Right.
I think if you look at the record, maybe one of the high things of my career was the trilogy, the Tom Stoppard trilogy, where I did 3 plays in repertory, and we did marathons of them all day long. From 11 o'clock till 11 o'clock at night.
Wait, what? I mean, I sort of knew, but how did that work exactly?
Well, there are 3 plays, and so they decided, Lincoln Center, Andre Bishop decided that we should have the opportunity, and they did this in London too. They did it when Trevor Nunn originally did the trilogy. While it was being written, he did it in London, and I think they did do full. Yes, they did, because Bob Crowley and I saw we went at 11 o'clock in the morning and got out at 11 o'clock that night. We saw 3 plays in a row. And there's a break, a dinner break and a lunch break, and then you come back. And it's like 8 hours of theater. And the same company. So I had, for a year at Lincoln Center, I had my own baby rep company of actors committed for a year for virtually no money to do these 3 plays in repertory. And so they decided to put some up for sale so people could see them in one day. And when they thought they'll never sell, they sold completely out. We could have done it all the time.
Yeah, I bet so.
People flipped over it.
I bet that would actually work even better now. I think people are desperate for experiences as much as anything, you know? And I could see how, I don't know, there could be a sort of marathon of plays like that where maybe you sell food in between and stuff. I don't know. There's something really interesting about that I think could appeal to more people than maybe we think.
It started decades ago when I think the Royal Shakespeare, did Nicholas Nickleby. they did this adaptation of Nicholas Nickleby, the Charles Dickens, and that was a full day
Yeah.
with one company, and it was, I saw it. It was wonderful,
Hmm.
and you had a dinner break, and you came back, but you know, it takes a big vision. It
Yeah.
takes a subject matter that will challenge an audience, and it takes the actors who have the appetite to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
You had
I
some killers in that marathon you did with the with the Stopper trilogy and stuff too. It's like you had some really big names that committed to that for a year, which is kind of amazing to think about.
Ethan Hawke, Billy Crudup, Richard Easton, Jennifer Ely, Martha Plimpton. I mean, it went on, and Josh Hamilton. It went on and on
Hmm.
and on. I to this day, I don't quite remember exactly how it happened. The time was right,
Yeah.
and the show actually had not been that successful in London. So why these people were willing to give a year of their hard-earned, I mean, they couldn't do television, they couldn't do anything,
Yeah.
and they were not making a lot of excuse me, they were not making a lot of money at Lincoln Center. They were not making, now you go to see George Clooney or Denzel, or these people, it's $1,000 a ticket or something. It's ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. We didn't do that. We didn't do that.
It's funny, man, because I feel like you've told me before a comment from Ethan Hawke that he really learned how to act in that process. Now, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I feel like you said something kind of like that, where he's made that comment before of like him really helping his craft. I'm sure everyone involved in that process would. And it makes me think about this pep talk you gave me a few episodes ago when I was complaining about a script that hadn't sold. And you were like, sorry, you learned how to write doing that one. And that's really interesting to think about, because even taking a lower paying job like that, it's like you do it for a year like that, there's an element of craft that you're going to access and an ability you're going to access you would never get to doing, 2 TV shows in that time.
No, I mean, the deal is, I'm tempted and fade a little bit here, but the deal is, I talk about insects a lot in the field, remember?
Yeah.
Saying that that insects can hear each other
Yeah.
in a field, and they find each other.
Yeah.
Richard Strauss, Wagner, Mozart, probably Beethoven, Brahms, Bach for sure. These musicians make a noise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the noise is indigenous to who they are.
Yeah.
And so you can tell right away who that composer is. Debussy. Nobody sounds like that except that insect.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is true of you, and it's true of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know when it's true to you.
Yeah.
You know when you are somehow in the groove. This is where you are. And you may make a mistake, you may fumble it, but you're home somehow. You actually know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I remember, and I've never been happier. Well, that's a lie. No, I'm happy all the time. But I remember doing when I was blocking The Coast of Utopia. It was like it was flowing through me. It was. I didn't have to think. I didn't have to wonder. I just could make it happen. It took over me, and there was nothing self-conscious about it. I was being used.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And I think when you're at your best, you hear that in your own work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That only you would actually. I mean, I'm thinking about Bowie now. You're the only person who's been able to field that for whatever ridiculous reason. And everybody's tried. I mean, it's like your movie that just opened. Everybody from Mike Nichols, everybody in the world tried to make a movie out of that movie. And it's stupid fucking you.
Dude, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what I feel.
Of course. Now, I'll take it one step further, right? Because I think you're right. And I think that we'll talk about something else that I want to share one day on this podcast. We won't talk about it now. But one thing I will say is I think that getting back to your insect theory, right? That's what we're going to call it, the insect theory, because I couldn't agree more. I think, I think, you know, you always, and you use this word when you tell me about it, thrum, which I had not really heard before, but I didn't want to tell you. I wanted to like look it up, but
Is
I
it
love,
great?
oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, the amount of times I've said thrum to people and they look at me like, huh? But it's like, you know, it's like, I like to use it because you do.
You either know it or you don't. But
Right, right. And I didn't, but I had to look it up.
yeah.
Anyways, I
does
think
it have a
that,
definition or does it have a definition?
well, I got the sort of context clues.
it's
Yeah,
like
I mean,
a vibration, right?
yeah, exactly. It's like a strum. I think about strum, but a thrum kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah. There's a definitely some sort of energy vibration that resonates.
That's
that
what
is uniquely itself.
Yeah, and not to get super woo-wooey, but that's what I think it is. And so I
Oh,
feel like,
let's.
well, listen, you don't have to tell me twice. I'm saying Stoppard writes these plays, and they give off a thrum. And I
Yeah,
think
they do.
I think the insects, you being one of them, to keep the metaphor going, that hear that thrum congregate on a place like Lincoln Center. And I think it works even further. The audience that sort of recognizes that thrum wants to come to Lincoln Center. And somehow all of you need that noise. And I think when it's really working, like you're saying, you find a piece that speaks to you and suddenly you're able to add to it on like a similar, like you bring your expertise to heighten that sound, that thrum. And I think like when you see pieces like that, that's when really amazing things happen that feel like they're so far out of left field. How did they do this? How did they do 8 hours at Lincoln Center of plays with all these great actors and actresses? It's like, well, they could all hear that pitch.
That's
and
right.
it's, you know, it's like if you build it, they will come. It's like suddenly everyone starts being like, man, I never thought I'd want to do an all-day marathon at theater at Lincoln Center, but suddenly that doesn't sound like such a bad idea. And I don't know. I just think I think that's really exciting, and that we can't really explain it, I think is really exciting.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I think it's true. I mean, the minute you start talking about it, it gets very ooga booga,
Yes.
and you think, you know,
Oh,
you're.
but let's.
I know, but you know, but it does
Yeah.
sound. I hear other people talking like this, and I
Yeah.
think, what the hell are they talking about? I mean, they're trying to explain why it works for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the point is, a very dear friend of mine, one of my most beloved acolytes, who was one of my assistants on the trilogy, who married a lovely woman, and they have a lovely boy, and they live in North Carolina now, and he's been being a good daddy and providing for his family. And yesterday, he got a theater of his own down there that has
Oh,
been
amazing. Where?
that is
Do you know where?
in. Oh no!
That's all right. We'll get it for the next one.
Yeah.
Because you know I'm from North Carolina, so I just
Oh well, you
my
maybe.
mom works at a theater down there, so
I'm
maybe
going to
my
find. This is 100 years old. It's been empty for 100 years. Is it Charlotte's? Is there a Charlottesville?
there's a Charlotte,
Charlotte. Maybe it's that.
huh?
Anyway, this piece is like a roadhouse, and I just read an article in the paper where they said it's been empty for 50 years.
Wow.
And they haven't destroyed it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because down there they usually destroy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, they don't keep. They don't.
We're known for knocking it down. That's what they say.
No, but what I'm saying is that there's not a lot of preservation
Right.
going on, and somehow this building has escaped the gallows all these years. And there's just a book. I mean, they're going to do comedy and they're going to do movies, but he's got a foot now. He belongs in the theater. He belongs in the theater as much as anyone I know.
Yeah.
And he's been a good daddy and a good husband and a wonderful human being. But it just clicked yesterday. I could weep with relief. I'm so proud and I'm so happy for him.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen. Something extraordinary is going to happen there. He's
Yeah.
the right guy to
Yeah.
be there. There's the thrum. He is the right person in the field hearing that vibe.
Yeah.
Something wonderful is going to happen there.
Do you think it's because I know you? So I hear you talk about him. I've heard you talk about another acolyte of yours that runs a theater in Arizona.
Matt August, yeah.
Do you feel like, because it's interesting because you obviously ran the old Globe so well for so long, it's like, do you feel like part of the people that find you are destined for running the, because it's not just I mean, because obviously you wear a bunch of different hats, not the one you wore last week, but you wear a lot.
It was a nice hat. It was a nice hat.
It was a nice hat. I just had to get that joke in.
No, you didn't.
Well, it wasn't that great anyway. Now that I say it out loud, it was funnier in my head. But do you feel like that's been a lot of your acolytes' paths? I mean, I'm thinking about Matt Lentz, who I met recently for the first time. It's like, do you feel like the same kinds
Matt
of people?
Lentz back
Yeah.
August.
Yeah.
Ben Klein. Yeah. They're all. Johnny Rando was one of mine. He got his Tony before I did. Yeah, I've put a lot of people in the stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are people who are what? They're culpable. They're fodder for this particular situation. Everybody can't do it. Everybody doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But if you've been inoculated this way, you are waiting for that to happen. You're waiting to get your wing. You're waiting to get your institution. And I've been sadly disturbed and understanding that he couldn't just go do that.
Yeah.
The timing had to be right. And also you can't make judgments for other people's lives. You have no right to do that.
Yeah.
So the fact that this just fell into place yesterday is just such joy. I can't tell you. We were winning one for the theater. You know?
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So I want to piggyback on that, because one thing I wanted to ask you about opera quickly, why, I didn't mean to pause for that long. Why do you think that opera has struggled so much to kind of stay relevant? And does that teach the theater anything, as someone that's worked in both? And that feels like a very, hey, I'm a journalist asking you a question, so we'll make it our own. But I'm curious about that.
Well, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I think, there are these expressions of creativity out there available to us. You can soap sculpture. You can finger paint. You can do mosaics. You can build a building. You can be an architect. You can be a set designer. You can be a composer. You can be an oil painter. You can do gouache. You find your medium, and then it is an extension, basically, of some part of your dreaming life. I think something that is in addition to the day-to-day schedule of days accorded to you. And for some of us, we like to have another way to express ourselves.
Yeah.
And so for those people, there is available this thing called opera, in which you make the noise of an orchestra and put on top of it singing and text and fulfill a gigantic story that needs all of that power.
Right.
And sometimes it's popular and sometimes it isn't. I mean, there's an interesting caesure, there's an interesting silence in the Broadway community right now. I mean, one of my most beloved collaborators, Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman, and Josh Bergasse, who just did this musical called Smash, which they had done for television, and they put it back on Broadway, and they worked very hard on it. And I went to see it, and I kind of really liked that. That was offbeat and weird, but I was very, very intrigued by the originality of it. But it didn't work. Even though the New York Times gave it a great review, it's closing, and my heart is aching for these guys because this is what we do best.
Yeah.
And they've done it superbly well in the past, and I believe they all will do it superbly again in the future. But you don't just automatically qualify.
Yeah.
And now with the absence of Sondheim,
Yeah.
who is our paterfamilias, who was the prima mobile at the moment, maybe with Stephen Schwartz and a few others, but he certainly is he casts a massive shadow across the landscape, and he's now silent.
Yeah.
And we're now doing scraps of his last moments at the National Theater, and here this last piece that he did, I just went over and saw in London, and there he goes,
Yeah.
and he will be replaced by someone else eventually. But the peonies don't come every month.
Right.
They're seasonal, and
Yeah.
and so someone will pick up opera in a minute and knock us sideways. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Tonys the other night, but darling Lin-Manuel Miranda's production of Hamilton, which sort of just tore the place apart 10 years ago, it's 10 years old.
Yeah.
And they all got back on stage and did it. And you thought, holy Moses, it's that good. It's certainly that good.
Well, maybe because here's what I'm always wondering, right? Did Sondheim pick up opera and it shifted into what Sondheim did on Broadway? And because, I've been to see, and again, I'm not a musical aficionado, but I've been to see a Sondheim musical, at least one, and I've been to see Hamilton. And it feels like what Hamilton is doing is on the shoulders of what Sondheim did. You know what I mean?
I don't think Steve would thank you for that. I mean, well, I know. I just don't think he would. I mean, I don't think he was a very, very iconoclastic, very complicated guy.
Right.
And he had a very, I think, remarkably skewed creative streak where it had to do with something that you can't do was the thing he wanted to do. And so, ironically, one of his massive pieces, Sweeney Todd, gets done in opera theaters.
Right.
And I think Steve would be the first person to say it's not an opera.
Right.
Well, maybe he's wrong.
Right.
Maybe
it's not up to him.
Maybe it's not up to him. I mean, maybe I don't know. It's fun to talk about this stuff because I'm feeling caught up right now, Alan. I'm feeling caught up in a movement of my, I'm sure, own making, but I didn't deliberately do it. And now I found myself about to start reviving one of my most important pieces, and someone's asking me to act at the same time, and the schedules are conflicting, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what did I put myself up for? Except that, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that suddenly I'm being whipped along at this point in my life, like at the end of a snake or the end of a Ferris ride of some sort. And I'm holding on for dear life, and I'm finding it exhilarating, and I'm trying not to hurt myself.
Yeah.
But I'm not letting go.
Yeah. Was there a time in your life you remember where you felt this same whipped along feeling that you did let go?
No.
No? Never a time where it was like the hesitation or...
No, this is weird. This is like, whoa. I'm not quite sure why it's happening. I'm just delighted and sort of surprised, and I'm trying to stay out of it. I'm trying to stay innocent and spontaneous and not think too much about it. Sometimes you just got to take the ride.
Yeah.
Just take the ride. Just take it. See what happens.
That always makes me nervous. That sentiment.
Good. It should make you.
Well, maybe.
Well,
I don't know. I've been on
nervous.
a lot of,
There's nothing wrong with being nervous.
No, I know, but I'm saying I've been on a lot of rides that broke, and I feel very similar right now. Just for whatever it's worth, as we as we mirror each other, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster where I can't. It's like the person in front of me is blocking what's coming next.
Yep.
But I can feel my body own a roller coaster, and I'm trying to be like, let me not freak out because I know that the car is moving, but I don't know where I'm going because this woman with big hair in front of me, I can't see past her.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's me altogether. I'm not that woman with the big hair.
All right, we'll cut it there for today, Jack.
Okay.
As always, man, what a great conversation.
Thanks.
We're gonna get people back into the opera. I actually don't know if we can pull that off, but we're gonna try. I like this, man. I like that you like the opera because I told you the first time I ever went, I'd only seen the opera in Pretty Woman, that movie, and then I went and I kind of liked it, and it's kind of interesting. It was interesting. So
how many things do we restrict ourselves from? Why do we disqualify an experience that is creative?
Yeah.
Why would we not? I'm always saying The interesting thing about the theater is that nobody wanders into the theater. You are taken. A parent, a teacher, an uncle,
you're
someone
absolutely right.
takes you to the theater.
Yeah.
And then it's your deal.
Yeah.
But because people just don't wander in.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, how many times, I miss dance. I love to hear orchestras. I don't go listen to the orchestra anymore. And I love to do that. Why am I wasting my fucking time, talking to you?
Exactly, man. Go find you a ticket to the orchestra.
I will.
All right, well, look, you come in, and when you crash on the couch, we'll go to the orchestra after.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Jack, we love you. Thank you for chatting with us, and we'll pick it up next week.
Always a pleasure.
All right, speak soon. Thank you, everyone.